When we build something that's called a swale, it's similar to what you're seeing here. You've got a ditch, and then you've got a berm, because all the soil that was taken to dig that ditch is put here on the side. So a swale is the same type of structure, just a simple earthen structure, a ditch and a berm together. But the difference is a swale is built on contour, meaning the layout of this bed would be level. So you would have it all the way, there would be no slope at the bottom of the bed at all. It would be done level. And if you were going to be doing a bed that was level right here, it would not be straight. It would not be a linear, it would be curved to follow the slope of the contour of the slope here, which is downhill from right to left. And so what happens is water flows, in this case, from the right, from the upper areas, flows down the slope and then goes into the ditch and catches the water, catches the sediment that was possibly in the water from erosion, and the water just sits there. It doesn't flow any direction. It sits there and infiltrates, and it hydrates the soil. A swale is to catch and hold water until it can infiltrate. And the berm part of the swale, this raised part that came from the soil, when you dug the ditch part, goes on the downhill side. And then you can plant plants here that maybe can handle more water, plant plants up on the berm part that like their roots drier and up off of the soil. And the whole system, a series of these on a slope will be spaced in a way that water can never get too high a velocity flowing down a slope like this. The water's coming down from up there by the track, slowly picks up speed, but if it picks up enough speed, usually in a slope greater than 2%, it has enough speed to pick up sediment and carry it in solution. That's what we don't want. So you have enough of these swales spaced out maybe over 6 to 10 feet so that water may hit the site, start flowing downhill, but it never picks up enough speed to do much erosion. Then you have another swale, and then down the hill another swale. And this is to stop the erosion and degradation of soils and help soils build back up. Meanwhile, you can use it for hydration and for also kind of a varied hydrological planting pattern. Like I said, planting plants in the bottom part of this ditch that like water and can handle being soggy a little bit, and then plants on the berm part of the swale that like their roots drier and like better drained soil because they're up on this berm. So again, this is just an example. This is not a swale, but if you put this on contour, so it was all level, not going downhill as it is here, then it would be a swale, and you'd have a longer one too. If we look back at that eroded hill up here, a number of swales along that, even low profile swales, so they're not sticking up too much, a car could still drive over them, could stop the flow of the water even on that roadbed. And if you look closely at the very top, you can see those little rivulets that's starting to erode these little areas. That could be slowed down and stopped. You have a reduction of the loss of the topsoil, which would be helpful for any other plants you want to put in there and for the oaks and other trees themselves. Because eventually this erosion will affect the trees here and the shrubs and cause a loss of hydration or a drying out of the soil. And a very quick soil lesson, as soon as you have dry soils that are compact, they die. All the microbial life in the soil dies. The plants can't get what they need. Organic matter goes down, and the roots of the plants that were surviving on that previously healthy soil now start to die, and you have plant disease, plant death. And for a permaculture system, we're trying to do everything we can to support the plants and make it regenerative. What you're looking at right now, and some of the areas around here, are this whole little garden ecosystem in some ways is on a downhill spiral, unless we're bringing in a lot of new compost and materials. And part of that is because the water is not being managed correctly. The water is slowly eroding sediments and nutrients off of the site. By building things like swales and other structures in here and planting the right plants, we can start it on an uphill cycle, start to slow the water, spread it out, sink it, keep the nutrients on site, reduce erosion, and build soil over time. some of the things that are being done here are awesome. I mean, we've got good straw mulch. We've got plants like this fava bean that give us food, but also the roots have associations with nitrogen fixing bacteria. So as these plants grow and die, they are adding nitrogen to the soil. So these are plants that are fertilizing the soil. Growing a lot of those is great. Some great natives over here, some California fuchsia and black sage and other sages. They can bring in the pollinators to help with the plants that are the crop plants, but also can help with the native plants too. So we always want to use plants, and some of them are being used here, that have multi-purposes. So again, we talk about stacking functions. Here's one plant with more than one function. It grows food for people, the fava beans. It enhances the soil, so it's increasing soil fertility and soil life. And it also is providing flowers and nectar for bees and brings in pollinators too. And you chop it down when it's dead, or when it's just about dead, and it can be a green mulch to increase the soil health even more. So there's a number of those types of nitrogen fixing plants here that can be utilized. So some good stuff going on, but the soil and the water movement is the thing I'd say is the very first thing you do with permaculture. How are you going to manage the water on site? It's one of the most important things, especially in a dry area here like in Southern California. So, and there's a lot that could be done on this site to improve that. Mostly because a lot of these beds are linear and they're not on contour, they're not level. So we're going to get erosion. Here's one bed that looks like a permaculture class did come out here. Well, actually, it wasn't a permaculture class. It was the last director, Kenny Chisholm, who was a director out here, and he took the permaculture class at City College that I helped teach, and I think they created a couple of these beds, like the one that you're looking at right here, and these two. They changed their orientation of these beds so that they're on contour, kind of wrapping around the slope instead of running down the slope. So that's helpful. But there's a lot more we can do. It's a good start, what we see out here, but there's a lot of great fun, new things we could add to make the site more sustainable and more productive.